Hello everybody, my name is Ian Griffin with Nyle Dry Kilns and welcome to a beautiful rainy day up here in Maine. Today we're going to talk about a couple things when it comes to utilizing and operating an L series of small kiln. We're going to talk about heat treating, sterilization, conditioning, and setting the pitch in an L53, L200S, L200M, and an L200 Pro. Let's get into it. Sterilization in an L series Nyle dry kiln consists of a couple different steps. Number one, you're going to need to turn off your compressor. Number two, you're going to want to set your dry bulb temperature to around 140 degrees. Number three, once the temperature reaches 140 degrees, leave the wood for 24 hours for 4/4, 48 hours for 8/4, and add 12 hours for every 4/4 extra. And if you have a 200M, turn the final moisture setting to 0. So when you're setting up heat treat and conditioning on the new L200 Pro controller, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come down to configure, go to your compressor, and then click on this green auto button. If I can, there we go. Shut it off. And then now when you come back over here, you'll see on your equipment status list, your compressor is set to off. So then when you set up whatever temperatures you want, we'll say we're going to heat treat some pine, for example, 160. We'll raise the wet bulb just as a redundancy. This really isn't necessary if you already have your compressor off, but it's just a good habit to get into on the off chance, you have an operator that forgets or something like that. Having two areas to keep the compressor from running is always a good habit. And then you just basically hit start. And there you go. We're gonna start skyrocketing up to heat temperature, and that's setting up heat treating on the new L200.
And this is how to set up sterilization on the older L200 Pro program. You're going to want to click on Advanced, make sure you disable your compressor. You're going to go back, click on your DH mode, and verify that your dry bulb settings are where you want them. And then once those are all looking good, you hit Start.
On an L53 or an L200 SRM, the procedure is pretty much the same as the Pros. It's just a little bit more mechanical. You're going to start off and you're going to turn off your compressor, and then you're going to cycle through until you get to your dry bulb setting. You're going to raise that to the set point you want. And you're good to go. When using an M or any unit with moisture probes, you're going to want to cycle over to your final moisture content and make sure you lower that all the way to 0. Now, the conditioning process can be done at the same time as your sterilization or your heat treat cycle. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pour some water over the floor of the kiln, not directly on the lumber, as your water may contain some minerals that can affect the wood in some way, shape, or form with discoloration or anything. And if you have 2,000 or less board feet, you're going to want to use about 5 gallons. And if you have 2,000 greater than 2,000 board feet, you're going to want to use 10 gallons. And it shouldn't raise the moisture content any appreciable amount. If you do not have a concrete floor kiln, if you've got a homemade chamber, if it has wood or insulation or something like that on the floor, then you can set your bucket full of water into the kiln, and you can add some towels and drape them over the sides that allow the moisture to wick up, and then the airflow to pick it up and still get that water vapor into the kiln chamber. Setting the pitch in an L series Nyle dry kiln starts similarly to sterilization. First off, you're going to turn off your compressor and set your dry bulb to 160, and once you reach 160 set point, you're going to start timing. There's no set time for setting the pitch in pine or other softwoods, as the time varies depending on how much pitch is in the wood. It varies quite a bit geographically, but after a few tries, you should be able to figure out what typically works for the wood in your area. The best practice is to place a couple of full dimension scrap boards in your load for test boards. And for pine with lower pitch levels, such as eastern white pine, usually 24 hours is long enough. To use the test boards, after 24 hours, pull out a test board and let it cool to room temperature, and then cut it in half to see if the pitches begin to crystallize. The board's got to be totally cool down to room temperature for this to happen. If it has crystallized, unload it. If not, leave it another 24 hours and test again. and use your personal judgment based on how it looks and adjust the time as required. Keep testing until the pitch is set properly. If you have an L200M, same as sterilization, turn the moisture content to 0. So, it's really important to remember that if you're in a colder climate, or if you have a lot of heat treating and a lot of sterilization, a lot of high temperatures you're planning on doing with your L series of kiln, I highly recommend purchasing an auxiliary heat booster. It can cut your heat up times drastically. And if you're utilizing those as a big part of your drying process, then it's definitely going to save you a lot of time in the long run. Hopefully that covered about everything when it comes to heat treating, sterilization, conditioning, and setting the pitch. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call at 800-777-6953. Thank you very much.